Give me a little countdown.
Dojo Outfitters family, what's going on? Welcome back to the show. Today I got Sean Harvey, aka Vocab. What's up, dog?
How you doing?
Dude, the internet's, first of all, we're in a crazy world right now.
Absolutely.
Hella crazy world.
Yep.
But man, the internet's a crazy thing. I'm kind of like a backstory on what happened was early morning, I think it was like Friday or Saturday, I'm driving to the dump.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fixing up my house, trying to get my yard right for my son, and I'm driving to the dump. I'm using my parents' truck. And they don't have, I always listen to Spotify.
Yeah.
But they didn't have Spotify. They don't have, it's an older truck. So boom, I turn on the radio, and who do I hear? Whose magical, glorious voice do I hear? But you.
Yeah.
And I swear on everything that what you were talking about and everything, it spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the dump and boom, I sent you an Instagram message.
Yeah.
A few days later, you responded.
Yeah.
Boom, here we are.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate it.
Bro, I feel blessed to have you here.
I appreciate it. I feel blessed to be here. You guys have been very hospitable.
Man, the world, like I said, the world is so crazy right now.
Yep. It is. What can I ask you? What connected, like when you were listening to the interview? What made you reach out to me?
I feel like it's your passion.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for change.
Yeah.
You're looking for something to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from. It's funny talking to people about this. The issue that we're obviously talking about right now is, whether you want to break it down to be police brutality, the racial strife in the country, the protests, the riots, every way you want to look at it, right? We could look at it all different kind of ways. I feel like now at 37, this is not my first rodeo. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like my maybe 12th rodeo. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when people have been reaching out to me and they ask me, they say, how do you feel? A lot of people say, how do you feel right now? How do you feel? What's going on? How do you feel? And I always say, man, I'm young enough to be hopeful, but I'm also old enough to be skeptical. You know what I'm saying?
I think that was like one of the things that you said that hit me.
Yeah.
That hit me hard. It really, I don't know what to do. I wish I knew what to do.
Yeah.
I wish, because I would tell everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do. The only thing that I know is to raise my son the right way.
Yep.
But
yeah.
Besides that, man, I know how I can help though.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to listen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first step is if you have a platform, use it. And I think that's the dope thing that people are doing more than ever right now is using their platforms and reaching out and working with each other, because obviously it starts there. It starts with a conversation in all cases. Any major change that has ever happened anywhere in the world, and I'm talking down to like a football team, right? An MMA squad, right? You guys if you want to change something, someone has to speak it into existence first. Someone has to say it out loud. Someone has to say, hey, you're not grappling right. You got to do this right. You got to do that. You got to work on that. And then you start to work on it. You start to practice and you start to, build better habits and so on and so forth until one day, maybe you're the best in the game at doing that thing that at one point you were shitty at. So I hope that's, I think the idea of America has always, I think that's the frustrating part, is that the idea of America is that. You know what I mean? Like the idea of America is the land where we're all born, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. So I feel like the idea of America is what we're trying to get to. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy to set a goal to be really what was put down on pen and paper at day one, but that's really what the goal is just like, let's all get as close to that as we possibly can, and it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
on your podcast, you were talking about Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing that, I mean, you said a bunch of things that hit me, but the crazy thing is that was 5 years ago.
I know.
That was 5 years ago.
I know. It's sometimes how do you feel? Because sometimes it feels long to me. Sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like it's been forever. But sometimes it feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah, dude, it feels like it felt like a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And once you started saying this, you ended up saying it at the end, but kind of how they made Ali.
Yeah.
They, like when everyone looks back, right? 20 years from now, when we look back,
yeah,
people are always going to remember Colin Kaepernick.
100%. 100%. We didn't, it for me, if you really go back and look at some of the really big figures in American culture, you could look at it one way, that they were exceptional people, or that they were surrounded by so much idiocy that, you know what I mean, they seemed like geniuses when really they were just saying some really obvious shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, Muhammad Ali wasn't saying anything. At the time he was like, first of all, I mean, they ain't bothering me. Which was very real. It was kind of like that was true for all Americans. No American woke up and was like, man, what about the Vietnam threat? Like nobody was planning for that. There was no, that wasn't it. And then we went and fought a war in Vietnam. And it's not until 20 years later that it's like, oh man, now when we want to show how ridiculous the Vietnam War is, we play clips of Muhammad Ali. You see what I'm saying? Mm. And so whose fault is that, or why is that? Is it because he's such a genius? And I'm not trying to say people were stupid, but it's really, is it because he's a genius, or does pointing out the obvious sometimes get, this irrational amount of backlash that makes it seem genius? And I feel like that was Colin Kaepernick. When you looked at his first, like the latest episode, I actually played the words from the first time he sat and the things that he said. It's one of the most uncontroversial, 20 minutes of just a guy like, oh yeah, I think racism is bad and it's just bad. And it was like, oh yeah, this is totally innocuous, like this isn't controversial, Mm-hmm. But then when you see the reaction to it, and then you see like people burning jerseys and people burning Nikes, and then it's like, oh wow, like this is worse than like he showed you it was worse. Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it. Is like, I didn't even think it was that bad. Not to say racism, but just saying you couldn't have told me in 2015, 2016 that's the reaction he was going to get. If anything, what I would have told you if somebody would have talked to me, if I would have known Colin, he said, hey, check this out, man, I'm going to raise awareness for police brutality, and I'm going to sit down during the national anthem. Like, you're familiar with some of the anthem, protests of old. And I would be like, you think that'll still work? That's, that's the way I would have looked at it, would be like, man, that's kind of underwhelming. Maybe you should make some grandiose, score a touchdown and pull your shirt up and it's got the whole, your whole message on there. Something, I would have thought maybe do something in a world where you have sex tapes, porn at the touch of a button, in a world where reality TV is fake violence all the time, right? It's like, how is taking a knee, how is that going to elicit a bigger reaction out of somebody than any of those things?
Mm-hmm. And anytime that I would try to explain to people the reason why he was taking the knee, the first thing that anyone would say to me is, oh, it's not supporting the troops. He's not supporting the United States.
Yeah. The conversation devolved immediately. That's the way I felt about it, to where it became this thing that was so obvious, and then it was like I found myself not even talking about the issue. I'm talking about something totally separate, and then I'm just like, it was. I would say that it was it made me feel hopeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made me feel hopeless that like you could have somebody say what it is that they're protesting, and then to have people then return hatred, but not for the protest, for the means of, so it's like, if I protest, standing in front of a bus stop, and I protest, and I'm in PETA, right? So you're eating meat, and I'm standing at the bus stop across the street from the restaurant. I'm saying, don't eat meat. And then imagine people yelling back at you, being like, why are you protesting the bus, though? Why are you protesting the bus system and public transportation, bro? You're like, no, it's about the meat. It's the meat. And they're like, no, but you're at a bus stop, so you must be protesting bus stops.
It's got to be the bus stop.
It's got to be the bus stop. And I'm like, no, it's the fucking meat. You know, and it was on that level. It wasn't even, it could have been not about race. It could have been about candy bars. It could have been about anything. But it was the fact that people were so easily pushed to like.
Boom, that's immediately what their mind goes to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of like actually assessing the situation and trying to figure out, okay, why is this dude really taking a knee?
Yeah, why is he taking a knee?
And watching a quick video and being like, oh, because something's messed up right now.
Yeah. Okay, so let me play devil's advocate. I understand the people that say, okay, before he takes the knee, the big speaker comes out, loudspeaker, and they say, all right, this is the time where we honor the troops. Boom. And then they go, right? So I understand, but for the people that say, okay, so because he's doing it then, he's disrespecting the troops. What I would say to that line of thinking is he's not, number one. But number two, what I would say is, listen to... I'm losing my train of thought. What I would say to people that would say, they would say, all right, protesting. What I would say is this. You're asking someone for a statement when what they're doing is a protest. You see what I'm saying? A protest is meant to disrupt something. That is what a protest is. So to say to somebody, protest over here at this time, at this location when I want you to protest, it defeats the purpose of it. He's not making a statement. I mean, he's making a statement, but it's with a protest. You know what I'm saying? And protests are meant to disrupt. And so simply pointing out the disruption is just as ridiculous as, like I said, pointing at the bus stop and acting like the bus stop is the victim when we're not even talking about bus stops at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why do you think they've held Cap out of the league for as long as they have?
Well, it's obvious. It's just because, to make an example, because obviously they can't do it to all the kneelers. You know what I mean? You can't do it to all the kneelers. You can't do it to all the guys that raised the fist. You can't do it to all the guys that locked shoulders. You can't do it to everybody. But what you can do, like they did to Ali, you know what I mean? What you can do is you can make an example of one guy, and you can try to dissuade, further action. Whether or not that action is actually dissuaded or not is kind of a moot point, because you have the system of deterrent in place. Yeah. You can get Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah. Recently, Roger Goodell came out and said that he wants teams to sign Colin Kaepernick. And I'm a huge NFL fan as well. Yeah. And, dude, you cannot tell me that he's not one of the best two deep guys in the league. There's 32 teams in the league. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That means there's 64 quarterbacks.
Yeah, at least. There's more than that.
I'm just saying, if it's too deep.
Most conservative estimate, 64 quarterbacks.
64 to 80. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You got to be giving me a break if he's not one of the 80 best quarterbacks. I'm sorry.
How long was Tim Tebow in the NFL?
Right, he was, 3 or 4 years.
No more. He was. I think he was.
He did make a run after the Broncos,
and he came back. You know what I mean? And so, point being is he's definitely, he could back up anybody, and he could start on a couple of teams.
Yeah. I think the real thing, right, that brings up, especially, is the police brutality issue that we have going on. Yeah. And man, that's kind of like one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, because as a jiu-jitsu guy, right, it took me a year and a half to get my blue belt, right? Just one belt. That's just going from white belt to blue belt. One belt. We're not even talking about black belt, right? Yeah. A year and a half. Yeah. The police, to get into the academy, it's 90 days. Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to throw me out in a jiu-jitsu tournament after 90 days, against people who really knew how to fight, I literally have no chance. Yeah. I heard a statistic today that police officers yearly get 2 to 4 hours of combative training. Yeah. I do that in a week. Yeah. in 1 week.
Yeah. No,
And if you sit here and you watch these videos, none of these dudes, most of these cops don't know how to grapple.
So one thing that I've watched the Rogan podcast a lot, right? And I've seen this as a common thread of watching him talk about this. A lot of times, I have heard MMA people, they watch a lot of this stuff and they think like, man, that's not a good move. Like you're not, your form's not right. You know what I'm saying? And you're getting yourself into bad situations. Mm-hmm. So can you speak to that? Like, is that something that you see often, that the hand-to-hand, the physical training doesn't seem to make sense? Or what do you think of the what you're seeing in some of these videos?
I think some of the laws that they have against police officers restrict them from being able to subdue people.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say that I don't think any of these killings that I'm going to talk about were right.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's right to kill people, especially in any of these situations. But I want to talk about the George Floyd one first.
Yeah.
Because I have choked people unconscious.
Yeah.
Multiple times. I have been choked unconscious multiple times.
Yeah.
I know exactly what someone looks like when they're out.
Yeah.
I knew exactly when he was out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that none of those officers, there was too much going on, and none of them had the awareness to know. I would have known.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I promise.
Yeah.
I promise I would have known he was out.
Yeah.
And I don't care if that guy would have been my sensei.
Yeah.
I would have said, Sensei, he's out.
Yeah, you got to get up.
He's out. And
Yeah.
all he had to do was move his knee.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But how many times are these things seen that aren't on video, right?
Yeah.
And you know, another the Wendy's case. I can't remember that gentleman's name.
You're talking about the one that just happened?
The one that just happened.
Got you.
They showed the dash cam of it.
Yeah.
They had this man belly down, right? So
Yeah.
face down on the concrete.
Yeah.
I promise you, two jiu-jitsu people, not just one. If I had me and my partner knew some jiu-jitsu, he ain't getting up from that position.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
one of those positions that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
yeah.
it. You're going to get up in handcuffs and that's it.
Yeah.
And how he got up, it's just like, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible to watch. And then, I don't know. I think that because I fight so much, right? I fight 3 times a week. I go into my gym and I fight my friends. It makes it to where like other stuff that happens in my life is way less, like, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if that dude would have got away from me, guess what? It would have been like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to call in some backup.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get him.
It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
And I just think that defunding the police doesn't make sense. But redoing the budget does make sense.
Yeah.
Requiring mental checks for these officers, requiring some type of training.
Yeah.
2 to 4 hours a year. So you're going to go out and grapple someone when you haven't grappled in 62 days?
Yeah.
75 days, 100 days you haven't grappled anybody?
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to do, man?
I do think a lot of what we're talking about is foundational, which is like most of the big problems in the world is foundational. It's it's from the beginning, and I think that there are a lot. I think I've had as many good interactions with police officers as I've had bad. Entirely too many. You know what I'm saying? I've had entirely too many interactions with police officers, but I have had some solid interactions with some cops that I was like, oh yeah, this dude's cool. And I've had some really negative interactions with police officers. And, the one thing that I feel like is sad is much like, education and other things that we do in this country, they obviously don't have everything they need to do their job successfully in most cases. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like you said, there's an issue of training, there's an issue of pay. You should be able to live in an area that you police. That's just, you should be encouraged to live in an area that you police. One of the biggest problems that we have is a lot of our police forces in the major cities are outside Do you know how just socially how bad of an idea it is to have somebody drive an hour to work to go be a police officer? That's horrible.
That's a long drive.
That's a lot changes in that hour drive.
2 hours.
And you're not invested in the end result of your work. You know what I mean? Like you're not invested in the end result. Mm-hmm. You don't have to live with any of the repercussions. And I feel like, you know, one of the one thing that like I have listened to a lot of ex-police officers, either police officers active duty or ones who have left the force. And I've always found that the ones that have gotten out into the community, you know, through sports leagues, you know, just getting out and being a part, either living or getting close enough to the communities that they
having conversations with
people. I find that they're so much more receptive and they're so much more agreeable. And, you know, I know immediately whether or not when I talk to somebody, if they're, I'm a grown man. So I know if you're nervous. I know if you're scared. I know if you're intimidated, you know, and I know if you're just like curious, or I know if you're cool. Everybody wants to interact with a cool cop. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Because all the other stuff is so many of the other stuff, but so much of that comes from, because guess what? I would be like that if I drove an hour to go sell sneakers. If I drove an hour outside the city of Portland to go sell sneakers in Banks, Oregon or something like that, right? I would have a tough time getting to know the people that I interacted with every day, because where I'm coming from is so different from where they're coming from.
Who cares?
And you know what I'm saying? And but with them, you know, I feel like that's just one problem, you know, outside of the physical training, because that's not really my department, right? But just attitude wise, you know, there's a lot of you know, non-community policing that I feel like you know, we're seeing, you know, like a great example was the brother in Atlanta, right? You say he shouldn't have gotten back up. He was down. They had him, right? Mm-hmm. He's a dude. He's messed up. He's high. He's drunk. He's high. He's sums up, right? You got him on the ground. You should control him. Now, when he gets up and busts a move, right, and he's out of there, what is the need? Like you said, you have all of the resources around you to reacquire him.
How many cops are on duty?
Yeah. Well, but I feel like
you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, how many backup cops could you call?
You, like him,
20, 30, like, he would have been surrounded quickly.
Quickly. It shouldn't be like if he gets away, like it's either he either gets away or he dies. That shouldn't be the two. Like when you now, let's also be real. We stop fucking with the police. This is I don't care how it comes across, because I'm grown, right? Like it's the other conversation that we need to have simultaneously, because they're related, is if a police officer put his hands on you, stop. If there's no good way to get out, like we're pointing out, right? There's no good way to get out of a physical altercation with a police officer. So we need to stop doing that. Everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we all need to ease up off of each other and make each other's life. Like, when I get pulled over, my first thought is, how can I make this dude feel good? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can I do to, how are you doing today? What's going on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
de-escalate.
What do you need to get through this situation right now?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do? You know, what can I do to make your day go better? Do I need to get this? How fast do you want me to get it? And I'm not going to be a dick about it. You know what I'm saying? Because, and that's what is the other thing that is frustrating for me, is that I see a lot of these situations that are happening, and the obviously when someone is killed, then that's it, right? That's what it sucks, because what happens is the conversation begins and ends at their death, which is understandable. But upon reflection, right, I think that we all need to step back and be like, we need to, like, it's not when you're in cuffs, like, respect the process, so we can all go home.
But real talk, why don't the police have a video out about how to get arrested? You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds that sounds stupid.
Did you listen to the Joe Rogan?
Right? Jocko.
Yeah, Jocko. Yes. I did see
But
that.
how does that not make sense?
It's and it shouldn't. The police officers should be publicly. It sounds crazy, but it's not. You know, it should be in schools. It should be taught as you get older. You should be watching more and more real videos on, like, look, you know what I'm saying? This is how this is how this could go wrong if you do this. So, you know, don't put yourself, these are our protocols. That would be a very positive thing, that if we could sit down and go like, hey, can you shoot me in the back? Is that a thing? Because if that's a thing, I want to know.
That I mean, honestly, he probably didn't know.
You know what I'm saying?
He probably was running and like.
From my experience, it's not supposed to be legal because of a Supreme Court case. You're not supposed to shoot a runner in their back unless you believe that they have a weapon that they could turn around with. That's the way I understand the law on the federal level. But that's not 100. I'm not 100% sure on that. You know, you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, and once again, it might behoove you to know that if you are running and there is something in your hand, it might be a good piece of information to you to have. Like, hey, he can legally shoot me right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he shoots me and I got this candy bar in my right hand, it's going to be perfectly legal. Mm-hmm. So maybe you either want to keep running and drop the candy bar because, like you said, it's knowing how to get arrested. It will save your life.
Honestly.
It will save your life.
Right? Okay, let's move on to something that I'm not comfortable talking about, politics. Okay? So Joe Biden, right? Yep. You talked about Joe Biden a little bit. How?
When?
Okay, listen, and like, I'm ignorant, so I'm so ignorant. So yep. Please. How is that the best candidate to go against Donald Trump?
It's not. It's not. You know. So let me explain to the audience before they make any. So I'm an objectivist, right? I'm not a progressive. I'm not a conservative. I'm an objectivist. What an objectivist is basically somebody that I truly believe that, regardless of ideology, if we're looking at the same set of numbers, that whether your ideas are conservative or liberal, wherever your ideas come from, as long as the problem is we can agree on, then we might not necessarily be successful, but I will hope for success. My job as a journalist or a satirist is to try to bring light to whatever that objective truth is. You know, scientists, as you know, they have to, if you're going to put somebody on the moon, you have to agree on the numbers. You know what I mean? You can't debate gravity. You can't debate, physics. It's not a debate. We establish what physics is. And so for me, politics is something where I don't root for people for the most part. And so let me get that out the way, that I'm not like coming from a partisan perspective.
At that point, I don't feel like I'm either.
Yeah.
I'm neither. I will always vote for. I've been a bartender and a server for a really long time, so I feel like I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I'm like you, where I judge a person quickly, and I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And
skill you learn bartending for real.
For real.
Because
I need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know
Is
what
this
I mean?
your last drink?
Yeah.
Your third last drink?
Yeah.
What's going on?
What's going on right now?
What's going on? You got a problem with somebody in the build? You got to know a whole bunch of stuff while you're serving alcohol.
You got to know. So I just wanted to say that, like, as we're talking, like, for me, politics, I've always voted for the person that speaks to me. I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right.
That's your right.
Yeah.
That is your right as an American. That is your right as an American. If you want to vote on personality, do that. If you want to vote on ideology, do that. If you want to vote on, my thing is, like I said, it's just all about how, if you really listen, as somebody who's been studying politics my whole life, if you really listen to politicians talk, very quickly they'll tell you that they don't agree on the score. Which is like, you can't solve any problems like that. Could you imagine if the coach of one team said, well, we won by 2, and then the other coach was like, no, we won by 10. After the game, of which there was a score that was settled. You see what I'm saying? You couldn't do that. We can't debate the score. The score is the score. Let's talk about the score. Right? But we're never gonna fix any problems if we debate the score and debate what happened on that play and that play. And so I try to call balls and strikes. Back to Biden, it's ridiculous. That's my personal opinion, is that sad. That's the only thing that, I don't like Donald Trump. I am not indifferent to him. You know what I'm saying? I am the opposite of, I passionately do not like him. As you cannot like someone objectively. Yeah. As you can objectively say, everyone wants to go, oh, you're biased because this or that. No, I just don't like this motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't like him when he talks. I don't like him when he walks. I don't like him when he sits. I don't like him when he stits. It doesn't matter what he's doing. I don't like him. And
that's kind of the vibe that I get too.
Yeah.
It's you know what I mean? It's just like,
how,
like, I don't know. I'll probably get hate for this, but who cares? I don't even know how this is our president. It's crazy.
And then to have this, to have Biden be the one going up, I just think that it's sad. I feel like Biden.
It seems like a setup. I don't know. I'm not.
No, it's politics. That's see. I feel like if you're outsider looking in, I see how it could look like that from I'm not an insider, but from somebody who's been watching his whole life, it's just politics, man. The way that they all bowed out. So. Super Tuesday is the biggest day in the Democratic primary, okay? So for those that don't understand, so it's like when going into Super Tuesday, he had only won one primary, South Carolina. Every other state, Bernie was in the lead, and then other people had won other states. All of the major players in the Democratic Party bowed out. So in that way, it's like we're both right, because the way that they bowed out before Super Tuesday was unlike anything in the history of politics. This is the way it usually goes: is you wait until you see how you do Super Tuesday, and then you decide whether or not you're going to stay in the campaign. For
it's like a team waiting to get into the NCAA tournament.
Yes,
and they're like, we're good. You know what? Pick a different team. We're good.
That's a great point. Yeah, no.
Put in Oregon State. Thank you.
We're good. We don't want to go.
Yeah.
And that's what Buttigieg did. That's what Klobuchar did. I forgot. There was two other people that all backed out right the date before Super Tuesday. And it was clear, me personally, my theory, and I've heard things about this, is that I think Barry O made the call. Obama was like, hey, listen, it's a wrap, buddy. Get out. Get out now. And that was it. And he made a couple of calls, and he was like, it's Joe. It's Joe. And then he hung up. And they were just like, because remember the Democratic primary 4 years ago? You think that people didn't get the Hillary? Like, hey, it's Hillary. Just stop. Just stop. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not talking about Bernie, because obviously that wasn't, they didn't call Bernie with that, but everybody else got the phone call. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else got the call that, like, no, you're not, like, Elizabeth, stop it. You're not running against Hillary. We're not doing that. It's her turn. We're not doing you versus Hillary. That's not going to be the final two. We're not doing that. So, and all the politics is run by backdoor deals like that, where, okay, I'm not going to run this time, but we'll talk about next time.
I just don't, man. I don't know, man. It just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And especially with, like, everything that's going on right now, like, I feel like we could use a change. But, like, to me, and like I said, I don't know nothing.
Yeah.
But to me, from just, like, there's so many people out there that are going to vote for Trump. There's so many. He speaks to a big portion of the United States that love him. They love him.
Yeah.
They'll watch him walk, talk, sit.
I know. Skit,
any of it.
All of it. You know what I'm saying? No, I feel it. He's there, that's why, I think that's why I feel so passionately about the mistake. And I wasn't really a fan of the Democratic field that ran, because I was connected into that. Like, I know what I'm looking at. Donald Trump is an avatar. He is their avatar. You know what I mean? When he, shits on somebody, when he tells someone to sit down or shut up, his people, for whatever reason, feel like he, like that's their avatar. Like, I'm doing that. That's me. I'm talking to people like that. And, and he connects with people on a visceral level. And not that many politicians can do that. To connect with somebody on a visceral level, like, he hates what I hate. Period. That once you connect with somebody on, it's almost like this. When you go out to dinner, and it's, let's say, I don't know if you're married or have a
I'm married.
Okay,
I'm
so
married,
you got your family, right? So your wife, hits you up, husband, I don't know what's your business.
My wife, yeah.
Your wife hits you up and she says, you know, we're going out with the friends. We're gonna have dinner, right? So you go out with your friends, but you don't. These are new people for you. These are her coworkers, right? So the two ways that you're gonna bond with somebody that you've never met before is either, hey, I like that music. Hey, I like that music. Or, man, I hate that music. Hey, I hate that music. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that's like he was like, you know what? Hey, you don't like people taking a knee? I fucking hate that too. You know, he's like, I hate that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't like this motherfucking president? Guess what? I don't like that shit either. And it's like people were like, yo, I don't like that. Mexicans are rapists. Yeah, I do think Mexicans are rapists. I mean, I don't really think that, but you know, fuck it. And they just kind of went with it. And so I feel like to counteract that, I don't know about all that love trumps hate. A lot of people said that. You know, I don't know if you counteract it with a loving figure or an equally dark figure, but I feel like whatever it is, it has to be an extreme. And I feel like what they're doing right now is they're trying to take moderation. And that's their it's like Trump's an extreme. He's over here, right? So we're going to give you somebody that's right here. And, you know, he's over here and here. And I don't know that is, you know, I could be wrong, but I feel like we just had this conversation 4 years ago.
Do you feel like he needs like an equal villain? Like he needs
Yes.
he needs like a Trump on the other side?
Listen, I'm so glad that you're asking these questions.
Hello.
I love this. I love this. Yeah. Bring it into the mic real quick so we can talk about how much we like this. No, what I feel, I have always felt like, so I went to school with a lot of like rich white kids, right? Not the wealthiest in the world. They ain't like the New York rich white kids, but they were the Portland rich white kids, right? I've met the kid that never had to worry about consequences. I went to school with that kid. You see what I'm saying? I went to school with the kid that didn't matter what grades he got, didn't matter. We knew what school he was going to. And then it didn't matter how he did at that school because we knew where he was working. And it wasn't going to be for nobody because daddy was going to give him money to pursue whatever the fuck he wanted to do. If he failed at that, daddy gave him some more money. I know that kid. You know what I mean? And there's two types of kids like that. Kid number one is humble. Kid number one is like, yo, man, I'm fortunate to be in this position. I'm not trying to waste my daddy's money. You know what I mean? And I'm humble to be here. But most of them ain't like that. It's a lot of kid number twos, which are like, fuck's your problem? I'm killing life. You know what I mean? I'm killing it. Where it's just like, and they want to take credit, you know, for all of the things that were given to them. They're in high school driving a Benz and they think it's because they're so fucking smart. And so I feel like the only way to counteract that is with brute force. Because like someone like that goes to play for Bobby Knight, you know, the coach, remember basketball coach Bobby Knight?
Oh, I know Bobby Knight.
You think Bobby Knight is playing any of that shit?
No.
Bobby Knight don't care who your daddy. There's very few people in this world who don't care who your daddy is. And he needs somebody that I don't care who you are. I don't care who your daddy is. I don't care where y'all come from. I don't care who's behind you. I will punch you in the fucking mouth if you talk to me like that ever again. And so, and I feel like I don't see anybody talking to him like that. You ever watch the you know, even with like the press briefing when he's in there, he's like, hey, you sit down, shut up, you sit down. No, not you. How are we talking to adults like that? Who could talk to you like that? And no teacher ever talked to me like that my whole life. No.
You know what happens? You talk to sensei like that. Hey, you don't want to know. Hey, let me bring it in. You don't want to know. I promise you. You'll
Man.
never. Hey, listen. I've been in sensei's dressing room twice.
Hey,
and both the acts I pulled.
Yo,
I ain't never did it again.
I flipped my mom off all of one time. And the story is a very short story. I was in the passenger seat. She was in the driver's seat. And it was from something, you know, I'm maybe 6, 7, 8 years old, right? Something to do some school thing. Somebody showed me, like, hey, do this. I can't even do it, even though she's not here. I can't even put my finger out on the camera, right? And so I just remember I gave her the finger or did something like that. And then I woke up at home. And that was it.
That was it.
And then I woke up at home and that was it. And I can remember maybe 2 times talking back to my mom, and that was it. It was not even Excuse me. I just knew it wasn't an option. My dad beat me all of one time. And you know why? Because my grandmother called me and I said, "What?" And he said, "Who are you talking to?" It's because she called my name again, "Sean." And I said, "What?" And then that was it. That was it. Then I got the paddle. And so to this day, every time when I call my son and I'm saying, "Hey, Lincoln," and he says, "What?" And I'm always like, "Don't talk to me like that, dude." For no other reason than because that's what someone told me. You know what I'm saying? And so, that discipline goes a long way. And I feel like when I see somebody that don't got it, it's like I'm not going to interact with you unless I can give it to you.
That's one of the things, and I'll always do this. I'm wrapping this back to judo and jiu-jitsu again.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that judo did for me.
Yeah.
It humbled me.
Yeah.
Bro, it humbled me so bad.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just thought I was, like, so cool. Like,
Yep.
this bartender, like, cool guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
For a long time. I still do. I've been in the game 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? And I still get whipped on. 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I'm humble enough to be able to shake it off. It never bothers me.
Yeah.
I could get submitted by a white belt today.
Yeah.
Right now. In front of you. And I get up and be like, man, he got me.
Yeah.
He got me. That wasn't me. Man, the old me, I would have made excuses. I would have got butt hurt. I'd been like, man, this guy did this.
See, you see what you're saying right now? This is why I don't like this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of like, oh, they said this, but it's so much grievances. It's so much personal feelings, and it's just like, so I don't like that motherfucker, man. Just as a character, as a person, and I feel what you're saying is, I always know when I look at this dude, this is somebody who's never been humbled. Mm-hmm. Never been humbled, and that's just on a character level, man. If you've never been humbled, if you've never, if it just didn't matter, if it just didn't matter if you succeeded or failed, and you didn't look at that opportunity gracefully, if you weren't like, man, this is cool, I can get bailed out at any moment, no matter what I do. This is dope. Thanks, Dad. You're the best. You know what I'm saying? Like. You and not be a dick about it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, and speaking to the MMA thing, I don't think it's a coincidence that, I've known fighters, I've known boxers, such a small minority of them are fighters outside of the gym. It's there are some psychos out there in just like it's some psycho cops. I've seen some psycho fighters that live to fight, but for the most part, fighters are the last people that you got to worry about because, they're getting it out.
I already had to fight 3 times this week alone. I don't want to, dude, when I go out, especially like after training, like sometimes like I'll catch someone like eyeballing me because I'm always wearing like something judo or jiu-jitsu and I'm like, oh God, please don't make me fight right now. Like I am exhausted from already fighting.
Yes.
Dude, I want to, before we get you out of here, I actually want to know a little bit about, so you're the host of the Broken Glass podcast.
Yes.
Dude, tell me how all that got started.
So the Broken Glass podcast, so for a minute, for those that know me as vocab, I used to rap. I used to rap around Portland, did a lot of shows, blah, blah. And then I went through that period where I was growing up, I was getting older, and I was kind of looking at my wife, and to be honest with you, I ain't gonna say that. Anyway, point being, we had a family thing that happened, right, between us, right, and then we experienced a loss. We'll say that, and so then it made me go like, man, what do you want to do? Like, what we experienced made me go, I don't want to do something that is the amount of time and grind that it takes. I really should be out every night. I really should be out grinding every night if I want to be successful at this thing. So either I'm going to do that, but then how is that going to be productive on my family side of things? And so I feel like I got to the point where it took me from then on, it took me maybe 3 years from that moment to say to myself, all right, well, what is it that I want to do? So I worked a couple of odd jobs here and there. And then I started driving. And when I started driving professionally, like driving shit around and people and shit, I first went from listening to what was the first? Well, Pandora. I would listen to stand-up comedy on Pandora, right? And I'm driving, and then somebody like would send me a clip of a podcast. You know, oh, listen, check this out. And then I'm start driving, and I start listening, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, right? And then I started like watching videos on YouTube, and then when somebody would get in the shuttle, I would turn it off, you know, but when you're driving around hours a day, and you start listening, and my process started to be with the political stuff. I would listen to the news or a political podcast, and I would hear like the main story, right? I'd hear the clip that they were about to talk about, and then I would hit pause. I would do my thing. I would say what I thought, and then I would press play and kind of see if it was on the same level, you know what I mean? And then after a while, I started being like, oh, my shit is better than their shit. And it's not even on no, like, you know, that was just what I was like, oh, like, man, I made this point, and this point, and she only made this point. You know what I mean? And so then it started to be like, oh, and then I think like all things in this world, nobody should logically think they could be a successful musician or a fighter. Nobody should think that. You know what I'm saying? It takes like it's a little bit of crazy selfishness to go, dude, thing that I'm watching on TV, I can do that. So it took a while. I would say it's about a year of just saying I could do that, and then what do you do with that? You know what I mean? And then eventually I just was like, you know what? Let's do it. And then the Broken Glass Podcast is actually the first name that we usually that you see a show would go through different names, but we just started with the Broken Glass Podcast, and you know, because I wanted it to be urgent, like the sound of breaking glass, how it's urgent, and then it just like 1 week turned to once a month, turned to bi-week, you know, bi-monthly, and then you know bi-weekly, and then weekly, and you know it just kind of turned into something. So,
dude, well, I just want to say thank you so much.
Absolutely, man.
You really like, you hit me with some knowledge today, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you just even reaching back out and just saying yes, man. It meant a lot to me, and dude, Vocab, you're my dude.
Hey, 100%, bro. It's great to meet you, man. Thank you
so much.
We're friends, bro.
Friends now.
And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Dojo Outfitter family. Peace.
Peace.